Okay, if everybody could be seated, we're gonna start in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Call to order the Planning Commission meeting Wednesday, July 24th, 2024, and it is now 6:41. Determination of quorum, Mr. Kenny.
Here.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Ray. Mr. Burke. Mr. Price. Mr. Studley.
Here.
Secretary Anderson. Vice Chair Colunian is excused tonight. Chairman Flynn is here. We have a quorum of 8. Evacuation plan. Doors you came in, you can exit out. There's exits marked on each doorway that will take you out of the building. You could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, approval of minutes 5.1, June 26, 2024. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Kinney. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Ray. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I also need a motion to change the order of the agenda. If I could get that motion, please. I'm gonna make, Village first, 6.1, New London Preserve, 7.1, and Center of New England, 7.2.
Make a motion, we change the agenda as explained.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kinney. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, first on the agenda, it's a public informational meeting. I will be, out of courtesy, taking comment, so everybody will have a chance to speak tonight. It is Village of Tayo, pre-application, major land development, comprehensive permit, owner, applicant, 232 Realty Associates, AP 32, lots 149, 49, 150, 151, 153, zoned R20 residential on Tioga Avenue. Also, intersect with East Shore Drive, Minglewood Drive, and Tiffany Road. The applicant is proposing a development of 176 units comprised of a mix of single-family units, duplex cottages, and multi-family units. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? Please come up.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to be recusing myself from this application.
Yes, Mr. Studley will be recusing himself from this application. Our staff will like to make a few comments before the applicant comes up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug McLean. I'm Planning Director for Coventry. We've certainly received an extreme amount of interest in this particular project. I wanted to give a little background. We've gotten a lot of questions and comments. So this is intended as a process background so everyone understands where we're at tonight and where we're going moving forward. This is right now a pre-application. So what is a pre-application at this stage? It's an informal first step in the review process. So no vote are owed to approve or deny the project at this stage. The purpose is really for the Planning Commission to provide feedback to the applicant to help shape the project moving forward. Public notice is not required at this stage, and typically public comments are not heard during the meeting, but the town makes the decision on that, and we will be willing to hear verbal comments tonight. The next stage at application for a comprehensive permit is a preliminary plan stage. So for those that know land use law, the new state law, we skip a master plan stage and we go to the next stage is preliminary, which means that the next stage that this will be in front of us will be the most substantive stage of review. It will include all of the engineering details, all of the studies in connection with the proposal. And that's likely when the town will be bringing in peer review services to assist with the review of any of those detailed engineering issues. So the next stage will have a formal public notice requirement. When the town receives that application before it's on a meeting, abutters that are within 500 feet will receive something in the mail indicating when the meeting is. There will be a public hearing component of the meeting, so a required component for the public to give comments and be heard at that meeting. And there will be, the commission will be in a position to vote to approve or deny the project at that stage. What is a comprehensive permit application, which is what this applicant for Village at Tyoga is proposing? That is a type of application that is established in state law that provides for a provision that if the applicant is seeking 25% affordable housing, which in this case they are, that those housing units are deed restricted for low and income or low and moderate income residents, the applicant is able to seek waivers from our zoning code standards and our subdivision standards. So we are not able to use zoning or subdivision regulations as a means to deny the project. And if we did use those as a means to deny the project, it can be overturned by appeal by a state board. There are a specific set of required findings as established in state law that need to be made to either approve or deny a project of this type. And those findings have to be based on the technical evidence on the record. At this stage, we do not have a high level of technical evidence on the record from the applicant as that comes at that next preliminary period stage. I should note that the town has a dedicated webpage for tonight's meeting. Cody, if you don't mind putting that up on the screen. That dedicated webpage, I've referenced it in emails some of you may have received. That does have, thank you, Cody. You can find this webpage just by Googling Coventry Planning Department and navigating to the Planning Commission meeting dated for tonight. There are documents on there. You can see all the materials. Cody, do you mind scrolling down to show the PDFs? So these are materials for all of the matters tonight. I know there's a majority of the people here are interested in the village at Tyoga, and you'll see the applicant's materials. You'll see a staff report that at this stage is largely just providing details on the process. What is a pre-app? What is a comprehensive permit? What are those findings that we need to rely on to approve or deny the project? And I'd like to we'll plan to leave this webpage up, so anyone that wants to visit this over the course of the next several months, this information will remain. And I should note that we did have some materials in the back. They might have been grabbed up. We do have a hard copy, just a few limited hard copy of the staff report and these materials. I have my colleague Josh here. If you'd like a copy of those materials, just raise your hand and Josh will come around and try to find you. We don't have many and some people have grabbed them. If you have a copy of those materials, please feel free to share with your neighbors. And one big plan set, so the proposal will be left on the back table if anyone needs to view that at any point in the meeting. We don't have enough copies for everyone. I just asked to share them, or you can review these documents on your phone or at home based on the web list. It's the same information we're handing out tonight that is up on the website. So in general, I invite all interested parties to review these documents. We have added, we've received a number of public comments on this, a total of 36 comments, many of which are very lengthy. We've added a document that has, in full transparency, all of the public comments we received, so everyone, the applicant can see it, the planning commission, and any interested party can see the comments that we've received, the nature of the issues that have come up. So all of the comments received have been provided to the planning commission in advance of tonight. The commission has read them all. I've read them all. They've been forwarded to the applicant for their attention. Those are a component of our project review. So this takes me to my next point. What is the role of public comments in this process? So public comments serve the purpose of providing our decision makers, which is the planning commission in this case, to understand the local neighborhood perspective and insight into this particular proposal and how it may affect your neighborhood or your properties. Some have asked, and so I'll clarify, for all and for the record, there's not some specific statement you can make in a public comment or a certain number of public comments that crosses the threshold that we can use to deny the project. Again, the approval or denial of the project has to be based on the technical evidence on the record. So comments do go into the record of the application. They're duly considered by the planning commission. They're also tasked with considering all the technical information. And in the technical information, the town will be seeking peer reviews on certain items to ensure we've got extra eyes on it. So any questions you might have on this project, on the process, you can email me, Doug McLean. My email address is also on that same webpage that you can find. And I think that's enough background for tonight. I'll turn it over to the planning commission and commission members. If you have any questions for me on process, feel free to ask. Otherwise, feel free to turn it right over to the applicant.
Thank you very much. Anybody from the applicant, representative like to come up? Name and address, please, for the record.
Good evening, Joelle Rocha, attorney for the applicant. My office address is 321 South Main Street in Providence. I want to thank the board tonight for hearing us on this pre-application. Doug gave a great summary of the process and how we're here. This is solely an information gathering exercise for us. That we're at a very, very early concept stage. No engineering has been done. No reports have been done. That will be done over the next couple, next several months as we take in the comments from this board. The public, I also want to thank, we did get a copy. We're going through all of those comments as well, which is, like Doug said, an important exercise as well. So we will work through those, but you will not hear a lot of answers tonight because we're not at that level. But this is certainly a necessary step, it's a required step. We're here tonight. So we have a great design team. We will work through the process, again, incorporate comments, address comments, and we'll work in between now and full design before we're back here with staff. We intend to do that. And we've gotten great feedback from staff, from DPW, from everybody on the technical review committee, which thank you to the town for having one. That's very helpful. And we plan on working with DPW, engineering, whatever it may be from now until then to help be more efficient at the next level of review. So we'll go through today. We have Greg Guglielmo from Dupree Engineering, who will go through the concept plan. And again, just reiterating, you will not hear about traffic and stormwater because we're not at that level, but appreciate the comment as we go into that design.
Thank you. Can everybody in the room hear? Okay. If you can't, raise your hand.
The only one thing I wanted to add is affordable. This comes up a lot in my affordable comprehensive permit project. So this project will be seeking to be at, for sale units, will be at 120% median income. That means for a family of four, that's around the $135,000 income mark. I think for one person, it's about $90,000. So that is for the for sale unit. For the rental units, it caps out at 80% median income. Those amounts are set by Rhode Island Housing and the monitoring agent at the time the units come online. So we have the numbers roughly for now, but it really will be determined by them at the stage these units, if and when these units are ready.
Good evening, Greg Guglielmo from Dupree Engineering, offices at 2 Stafford Court, Cranston, Rhode Island. I am a certified land planner with the American Institute of Certified Land Planners, and I'm the project manager of Village of Tyoke. Just a little background on me. I have over 30 years of experience in the state of Rhode Island. Mainly my practice has been around residential home developments in Coventry and the other 39 cities and towns in Rhode Island. So I'm pretty well versed in the new state law on the comprehensive permits, but also single family developments as a whole. As we stated, we're just going to kind of go through a general overview of how we ended up at this stage with this type of project, and get feedback from the board as far as some additional things that we can take in and use those informed decisions as we get into the detailed engineering at later stages. One thing I always like to point out when I do these developments is that one, I'm a Rhode Islander, I'm a homeowner. It's kind of one of the reasons that I've always enjoyed land development around homes more than commercial development that we also do at our firm. Because I can kind of, I can feel it more as a homeowner. I was also a Coventry resident for a while, not that matters, but I do know a little bit about the town. I lived off Hopkins Hill Road for a little while. So I use any feedback that we receive from the boards and from the public to help me make informed decisions on how we move the project forward through engineering and funding. One other note too is that these projects, I kind of envision them like a football field. We're on the 1 yard line and we have 99 yards to go. So this is a very, very early stage of the project. It's going to take a lot of work for us to, kind of meter this out, figure out what makes sense for the project. And sometimes you go for and out and you punt. So there's projects where you go through and you do the testing or something else on the site and it doesn't work. We're not at that stage. We haven't done any of that yet. And so the pre-application is really about just seeing if the concept makes sense and getting feedback. So that's what we're here for. If we could switch to the, I believe it's page 2, the half-mile radius plan. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but this site is about 27 acres. It's just to the south of Tyoke Avenue, and it's east of Lake Tyoke. Most of the area, at least within the half-mile radius, is pretty developed. There's a lot of areas that were built from the 1950s and 1960s that kind of surround the area, especially to the north off of Tyoke. And those were mainly single-family homes that they're mainly post-war. If you think of that post-war developments that mainly are ranch homes, bungalows, some raised ranches, and they sit on, for the most part, 5,000 to 10,000 square foot lots. As the developments have changed over the years, there's been some other varying development types. Obviously, the two developments each side of this are built on approximately 20,000 half-acre lots. There's also two 100% affordable projects that sit just to the east of this project. So there's a large amount of a varying mix of development types in this area. Obviously, some areas of Tyoke also have some commercial type uses, small commercial type uses. This area is serviced by sewer and water. That's an important point. The state of Rhode Island, many years ago, created a plan called Land Use 2025. And in that plan, it talks about an urban services boundary. And an urban services boundary, defined by statewide planning, is an area that is shown to have the capacity to sustain future growth. In those areas, for the most part, in that plan, not just in Coventry, but in all of Rhode Island, are areas that is serviced by sewer and water. So the state has directed municipalities to look to direct future development in areas that can sustain future development. So sustained future development is that there's the infrastructure in place, the roadways in place, the sewer, the water in place. We are all pretty familiar with Coventry. Obviously, the amount of people who live in the eastern side of Coventry is substantially more than live in the western side of Coventry. And for the most part, the western side of Coventry is wells and septic systems. That is not the case in a lot of this area where it's serviced by drinking water. So once we kind of did that initial analysis of the area, we settled that this current law or the comprehensive permit would be something that could be viable for the site based on the surrounding area, based on the utilities that are in the area, based on the need, not just in Coventry, but in Rhode Island for affordable housing and I'll talk about in a moment, kind of more price targeted homes than what we're seeing built throughout Rhode Island today. As we mentioned, and this actually was just a news article yesterday, the median price for a single family home in Rhode Island is currently just under 500,000, 494,000. So that was just released within the last day or so from the Rhode Island Association of Realtors. So to afford this home, they mentioned that it's a household earning about $135,000. So I know in my own people in my own family and friends who work in our office, that can be out of reach even at that highest salary for people throughout Rhode Island. These are, as I just mentioned, engineers in our office, firemen, teachers, local general services type people, who are kind of getting priced out of a lot of Rhode Island. There's another statistic I read recently that Rhode Island is dead last in new home construction. We do not have a lot of new home construction, which again is part of the reason that pushes up the prices of homes throughout Rhode Island. So why is this important? Obviously, I think what this law has tried to push forward is that we need to provide opportunities for housing opportunities for folks in Rhode Island. The only way to do some of that and reduce the cost is really what the law provides, and that's an increase of the amount of units per acre. By doing that, you can decrease the roadway costs, you can decrease the land cost per unit. Those are all things that help to make these units more affordable or be at more of this price point than would be if they were on, say, an acre or a 2 acre lot. So I'll move on to the proposed development quickly. If we just move, I think it's about 4 or 5 sheets down. That's good, thank you. We've divided the site into 3 distinct areas, and through our analysis, we've looked at ways that we could provide, again, different types of housing that would be marketed towards different types of homeowners who may be looking for different options that are available today. A lot of the surrounding areas, like I mentioned, were built in the post-war, the 1960s. They're great neighborhoods, it's beautiful homes that are well kept. They have good value for their homes. I think a few of them were on sale, listed recently that I noticed, and I think it was in the $500,000 range. So they're beautiful communities, and we've been looking for ways of how do we just take in what was done in the past and improve that to today's standards of what people are looking for in homes today. So this first area, accessed off of Cuyahoga Avenue, is about 4 3/4 acres, and what we're proposing here is a walkout type condominium unit. They're proposed with 1-car garage and then additional 1 or 2 parking spaces for each unit outside of the garage. These would be 2 and 3 bedroom units. They would some of them obviously would be middle units that'd be different price points on these depending on the types of units, but we anticipate that these would be mainly folks looking to kind of upgrade from a rental type of use or a smaller home, or empty nesters that are looking to move something with a little less maintenance than it may be in a single family home. In terms of the drainage, this would all slope mainly towards Tioga Avenue. We'd have to look to mitigate that drainage as we move forward. And the only access point we're talking about for this portion of development is directly off of Tioga Avenue. If we can move to the next page. This second area proposed to be accessed through the two approved 50-foot wide right-of-ways off of the two roads to the north, the top of the page and the bottom of the page. We would access those through those existing points. This would be 57 single family and duplex cottage units. We've noticed as a firm, and the developers noticed as well, that these homes are actually well received in a lot of areas in terms of the people are interested in buying these. They're two-story units, 2 and 3 bedroom units. Most of them wouldn't have garages, although there could be the ability for garages on these, but again, garages cost money even to build, so limiting some of that can reduce down the price point of the units and make them more viable for potential homeowners. In this area, we built at about 6.7 units per acre. So again, it's kind of in the same range of what some of the areas we talked about in the immediate vicinity that have 5,000 to 10,000 square foot lots. Stormwater in this area, again, we haven't done a lot of work on stormwater analysis, but we do know that some of it is going to head towards the north, and we'll probably have a drainage on there, and then some of it would head kind of towards the southeast and head out towards Tioga Lake. We'd have to obviously work to get approval through DM to get that mitigated and designed. If we can move to the next page. The last area, this is kind of a traditional type of development. These are the 5,000 square foot lots, house single family units, anywhere between 800 to 2,200 square feet. Again, these would be kind of looking to provide a unit type that is closer to the median sales price than what we're seeing a lot in the market today. So these would, again, be somewhere in that $500,000 to $700,000 range based on today's dollars versus a lot of the units that are proposed today throughout not just Coventry, but throughout Rhode Island that are now approaching over $1 million. Again, we'd have to work on drainage on this area. One thing to note too, on all three of these areas, we're proposing 26-foot wide pavement. That would be 12-foot travel lanes, and then 1 foot of Cape Cod berm. And part of that, we believe this is a safe travel width. We actually worked through that with the TRC as well, and received a positive opinion on that from the town engineer. If we could go to the very last page, this is going to be, I'm sorry, move up one. Sorry, thank you. Just to kind of quickly go over the home types, and these are very schematic, but again, these would be 2 to 3 bedroom units. Some would have attached 2-car garages, some would have 1-car garages. The cottages, that picture actually is an actual unit that's built in East Greenwich. It would model after that type of unit. So we've done some preliminary research on the types of units that would make sense and what we believe is marketable to the type of folks that would be looking for units in this, kind of around this median sales price in the state of Rhode Island. I'll stop there. I got a few other things just to mention. And as we've said previously, this is kind of the first step in this regulatory process. I know this is You probably all just received the package not too long ago. We know that there's a long way to go on this. We'll have more defined answers as we move forward. We need to work with DM and DOT. We need to provide detailed traffic reports and detailed stormwater analysis at later stages. We understand all that. And really for the commission and also for the neighborhood, I mean, we understand, like with any of these projects, there's questions around traffic and stormwater, other impacts. We know we need to provide all that as under the state law, but also as good practice as a civil engineering firm and as all the other professionals we'll bring in. So we're looking forward to bringing those things forward. We welcome your commentary tonight and opinions, so we can take that back and improve the project as it moves forward. We'll obviously be available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I think right now I'm gonna turn it over to any board members. Are you still, are you done with your presentation? Come on up, please. You're done? Okay, I have a list of issues here, so I'm gonna turn it over to my board members first. And hopefully I'll check a few of these off. I see you have your pen, pad, and paper, that's awesome. Go ahead, Mr. Anthony.
Thank you. And yeah, you got it right. This is an exercise. This is an exercise. As this new legislation just opened up a lot of doors. And
Sure, this is not the first one. And
No.
the last.
no. And you know, Greg, your story, you know, it checks out with a lot of us, you know, about living in neighborhoods and you know, building upon and putting these housing for more housing, so to speak. And you know, there's a lot of long-term, we're gonna keep in mind, right? This is gonna be a long road and we're gonna make sure we get it right. And, you know, we'll follow legislation and we have brilliant people behind us that have all the answers. So you had a long-time residents that just saw like two huge developments go in and they are beautiful. You know, and now it's almost like, you know, the bait and switch for the older residents and now it's a kind of a bait and switch for the beautiful new residents. So it's a tough pill to swallow. So we're gonna navigate through this thing and you know, we're gonna get it right. And again, brilliant people. They're gonna assist us with that. You know, the two multifamily affordables that you said are 8 to 10, the east side. Which ones are you referring to that are already there? Is that the Rhode Island housing buildings?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Coventry housing, I'm sorry. Coventry housing. Okay.
Any 100% affordable, see it usually it's nonprofit.
Right. I just thought, yeah, I mean, you used it as a threshold.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. And maybe, you know, Doug, you can clear this up, but I think it's important for me. I want to understand it better. But, you know, and my chair explained it a little bit to me, but I think it's just important. And without being long-winded, you know, the threshold now is like, R20 is like, right now, it used to be 2 houses per acre, and now it's just considered a bonus number, right? With the new, which brings it up to say 5, which is total of 7 now per acre is the minimum threshold. Is that the new legislation for municipalities to consider for the minimum threshold?
At a concept level, you have that right. The baseline zoning in an R20 zone, it's essentially 2 units per acre. The new state law for comprehensive permits says that if you're giving us 25% affordable, you get 5 unit per acre bonus. So, and I believe from the materials, they are currently at 6.5. This is conceptual and we haven't removed what would be considered unsuitable areas and we haven't done that analysis, but I think it's fair to say they're within a threshold.
Right, okay. Yeah, thanks for that. And as I read further, and I'll just get with really quick, you know, I'm looking at I think it's phase 1. I guess my question is the attached multifamily units threshold any different from single family thresholds? No more or less, it's all the same.
You asking staff? Yeah, the answer is that we would do the threshold of units per acre across the entirety of the property.
Okay.
Well, they're looking at this and there's certainly three distinct sections.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be reviewing it across the entirety of the property.
Okay, because I would have, me like probably everyone else, so they're asking for, say, 12 units, per acre on phase one. Okay, I didn't know how that was calculated in. Just so we're prepared to deal with it. That's good for now. I'll let other people talk. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Ray's first. Go ahead, Mr. Ray.
I got a question for the gentleman. You broke down each area. When you broke it down, it came to 176 units. Can you stroll down one more, down at the next one? The next picture right here. In this picture is the full area. That's only 39 lots.
Right, so that's the yield plan.
That's the what?
That's what we call a yield plan. So that you'll see that again at preliminary. So that's the baseline zoning as it is now. And then the bonus goes up on top of that. So that is a requirement. I can let Doug speak to this, but that's a required exercise to show this type of plan under R20 zoning. This is what you would get if you were a conventional application, not a comprehensive permit. But I don't want to steal.
Well, still, that's a lot of units in a, for 39 lots.
At this stage, the yield plan just is a means of a conceptual exercise to show what could be built conventionally. And that plan basically is just a demonstration. It's not what they're seeking to build as part of their application. It's a demonstration of what could be built under underlying zoning with a standard subdivision.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Kenny?
Hi, I was just looking through different things, just a couple of quick comments from what you have as your conceptual plan here. I don't see any sidewalks at all. May want to reconsider that. Parking spaces, 1 per unit. Most families have 2 cars. Doesn't leave us very much room for guests. See what else I have. Sidewalks too. The cemetery needs some sort of access. I know that was covered in the engineer's report. And I know you're gonna do a traffic study because, I've been down Tiffany Road and that's dumping that section onto Tiffany Road would be an issue for the current residents and for the new residents. Well, that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Anybody else on this side? Go ahead, John.
I had a few questions. For the affordable housing, it doesn't seem to identify, at least I couldn't find it, where those affordable housing units are going. Are they gonna be spread equally throughout the 3 areas of development, 25% in each development area? Or are you focusing the 25% affordable housing in one of the 3 particular areas?
So we have not gotten that far on design, but understanding state law. You can't stick them up front, all of them.
Okay.
Understood.
So the development you have right now, you're creating 2 dead-end streets. It doesn't seem that there's clearly a way where you can connect all the streets through, so you're not creating 2 dead-end streets. So I would consider that also. And then I didn't see anything about any buffer areas or, are you clear cutting this whole area? Are you plan on leaving areas for, leaving the natural growth or creating buffers between, the existing properties and the current properties?
I think Greg can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have that level of detail either, and we did see that in a lot of the comments from the public too.
Yeah. And in addition, I also had some concerns about the same issues that were brought up previously.
Yeah, one thing that we do want to mention is that through this process, it is a little bit more iterative than can be on a development like the ones to the north and the south. Sorry, the east and the west. I believe they're mostly clear to your property line. There are some abilities to work through this and establish areas that could make sense to leave as buffers, but again, we have to work through that with your staff and kind of see which areas make sense as we go through this and do the detailed engineering.
Good job. Go ahead.
I have a question about the low income housing. I read something in the technical review report. Do you anticipate any of the low income to be rentals, or are they all gonna be ownership?
So there's a mix of them. So there'll be certain ones that are in the ownership section, there'll be 120% median income, which is the top level of affordable with a capital A. Units, and then in the rental, they'll be at the top level 80%. So they'll be both. Is the answer to the question.
You know the ratio of how many rentals to how many owners?
Not yet. I think we'll know that better when we have the final number.
All right. And then I do also have some concerns about just the density and what it's gonna do for traffic with. I know Tiffany Road, Old North Road, these roads, they're just, I think they're gonna be overwhelmed.
Okay, if we could just keep it down, please. This is the first time we're hearing it. I appreciate the applause, but we might say some things you don't like, so. We can if we can refrain, everybody will have a chance to speak up. We just want to keep it to a minimum. Thank you.
That was it.
Anybody on this side? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Got a few questions or comments. I know that we're at the very early stages, but for Greg, drainage. I mean, that's going to be a big one, because the newer developments in there, it has created a lot of runoff, and we've had some problems that have affected the neighbors that are longtime residents in the area. So I'm really going to dive into that when you bring it, and I'll discuss it with Doug later, but the drainage and the runoff onto other people's property and doing damages to other people's property is just, we can't have that. We've had enough of that, and that has to really be thought out in the worst possible storm and how to handle the water. 'Cause I'm looking at the very preliminary drawings that you have, and there's not a lot of area of drainage. I'm not a soil expert, but I have a lot of experience digging out there, and that's really bony, and it might not be the best soils for drainage. There's a lot of large rocks in that area. I'm sure you're familiar with it from previous projects. So drainage would be a big one. I'm gonna repeat what my other board members said. Tiffany Road, London Turnpike, Old North Road. I mean, that's a one-way. It's tight to drive through there. You go through there today with a car, in between the brush and the width of the road, Tep's end, that end, there isn't much room there at all. So you really got to do a study on the traffic on that part to add more traffic to that. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. And then off-road parking, when the town has a parking ban in the wintertime, and the Public Works Director declares a parking ban, those cars got to be off the road. And as one of my other board members said, it's a very preliminary plan, but there has to be a lot or something to get those vehicles off the road for an emergency. So those are the things I'm really going to be looking at as we progress on this, not to affect the neighbors or the drainage. That's it, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, so of course, I think we all agree on density. I mean, it's over the top out of the atmosphere. I read all the emails, many, and I just want everybody to know, the developer, everybody got a copy of all the emails. So they're well aware of everybody's points on this matter. I'm just gonna go over a few of the people concerned about traffic, buffer, values, fiscal impact, drainage, surrounding areas, mostly single family. Safety concerns, sidewalks. I like to see sidewalks. I like to see at least 26-foot road widths. Is it gonna be private or is it gonna be public? We will be peer reviewing. This town is taking this seriously, as we do all. We have a new planning staff. We are gonna peer review this, which means we are gonna have consultants come in and help our engineer, help our staff. So we are gonna be on top of this thing because of the density and drainage issues. If you look at the topography, there's a lot of elevations. And what happens is when they construct these developments, they capture the water flow. The water flow has always been there. They capture it and they divert it into a retention area. Those things have to work. So that's my concern. There's gonna be a 12-foot gravel road that's been suggested for the cemetery access. Not a good planning. Mr. Price brought it up. Connecting these phases, because if you look at phase 3, God forbid there's a fire. These are so closely located. People will get stuck in phase 3. They won't be able to get out to Tiffany Road. That's a concern. So I'd also like to see in phase 2, I'd like to see the islands removed. So you can pull the houses closer so we can actually have more buffer and more areas for mitigation of water. And I think, is this phase 1 that has the development in the middle? I think it's phase 1.
Phase 2.
This one's phase 2. It's sorry, hard to see. So phase 2, where it has the development in the middle, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 units in the middle. I'd like to see those shrunk and again pulled in, because my concern is buffer. My concern is mitigation of water. There'd be more areas, and I know this is conceptual. This thing will most likely change a lot before it comes to preliminary, but under the new law, we don't have a master plan. So it's concerning to me that all these things are addressed, because this is a very dense project, and there is water issues, and you know, it's on Tile Hill. So the topography, if you look from Nicky Brown all the way down to Old North Road, the topography, there's a very change in elevations, which means water runoff. So that's about all I have. Is anybody else, has anybody on anything else to add? I think that's it. If you have any comment.
No, these were very helpful.
Okay.
Moving forward. And like you said, no master plan, so we take all the, we'd like, we appreciate all the comments.
And we are gonna have some public comment tonight.
Yeah, understood.
Because I think it's the right thing to do for the people. I know pre-app, normally we don't have public comment.
Yep.
But we want to get the people up here. We've got all their emails. And if,
So do
I
we.
think
Yep.
staff wants to come up first before I open up the public comment. So if you don't mind.
Nope.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Again, Doug McLean, Planning Director. We are going to take verbal public comments. I have a few items I wanted to address to help that go as efficiently as we can. I'm trying to be conscious of and respect everybody's time here, and we do have a few matters that are going to occur after this, so I have a few things to say. One is that, you know, we've received over 30 written comments thus far. Many of them are lengthy and detailed, and that's useful. I would say that for us, especially at a pre-application phase, the comments, especially about detailed issues, are better in a written format. We appreciate that. It allows them to go through it in detail. It's hard for them to capture all that same detail if they're hearing it comment after comment verbally. So written is helpful. If you heard something tonight that you feel as though you have an additional comment, perhaps you gave us one of those emails or letters and you have something you'd like to add, we will accept public comment on this project after tonight. Those comments will be put into the project file, and that file will be available to the planning commission when the applicant comes back at the next stage. So anything you wish to put in writing, we can still take that even after tonight. I will, just suggest, because of, we've done public comment in this room before, oftentimes a lot of time is eaten up by people walking back and forth. Someone says, who wants to comment next? And someone gets up from their seat. It's a minute to walk here. If you do want to comment and you're waiting your turn, please come up to one of these front seats. I think that's a more effective use of our time. That way, when someone's done with their comment, the next person's sitting right there. They're ready to get right up and make their comment. And I would ask, because of the nature of the project, the limitation on time, if you do wish to give us a verbal comment tonight, try to keep that within 2 to 3 minutes if you can. Again, if you have more to say than 2 or 3 minutes allows, we will be able to hear that from you in a written comment. That is a stronger version for the record to get your comments in writing. So I wanted to say that, to at least give some guidelines on that as we go. With that being said, the commission, if you have any other comments or issues you want to address with staff, feel free. Otherwise, we're ready for public comment if you're ready.
Thank you, Doug. Anybody on the board have any further comments before I open up public hearing? Public comment, I should say. Okay, I'm gonna start on my left, your right. Anybody who'd like to come up and speak? We'd like to make it brief, as Doug said. I'm gonna allow everybody to come up. Just your name and address, please, for the record.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Everyone hear me?
You could speak up just a little bit louder.
Okay. My name is Katie Corcoran. I wrote an email to you. My address is 4 Minglewood. We recently bought this property and it abuts one of the access points to the village. So in addition to the comments that you all have very thoughtfully already discussed, and based on feedback we received from the developers team tonight, I would like to add that the zoning variance is a bit of a concern. I looked into R20 and it is, I'm going to give you some of the abbreviated definition, a quiet, higher density area with undeveloped areas where similar residential developments will likely occur. The minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. So they recently, the team was saying that they want to put light units in here, that they were saying 5 to 10,000 square foot units are in this area in Coventry, post-war theme. These cottages don't look like that to me. It doesn't feel like they can use that as a precedent. This is not post-war. I think it's also a little bit concerning that they were not able to detail what the affordable housing units will be in this plan. There was no percentage, there was no identification. And I'm wondering what the motivation is there. Just because they can do something doesn't mean that they should. And it does very much feel like this residential community is going up against a business. And we appreciate you looking into this as a residential concern. Thank you.
Thank you. And there is 1.5% for me. That's the percentage.
Yes, I'm sorry. I guess what I meant to say was they were not able to identify where the affordable housing would be.
Because of being pre-app, it's preliminary, we're gonna get a lot of, it's gonna be a while before they come back, but we're gonna get a lot of things.
Okay, thank you very much.
There's no master plan under the new law, so pre-app, and then they go right to preliminary.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Kathleen Cleary.
You just speak up, please.
My name is Kathleen Cleary, and I'm very proud to say I am a two-day Coventry resident. I moved here 2 days ago onto 74 Tiffany Road, and my neighbor told me about this. I left South Walpole, Massachusetts because of the craft trade and a 1,000 person unit development going in across the street from me, and now I get this. So this is preliminary. My concern for this town is the same as it was in South Walpole. This is a preliminary plan. So what happened is the developer went in and clear cut everything because it was going to be housing, owned, rent. So it was going to be zoned as a homeowners association. They clear cut everything, then changed their plan. Got rid of the homeowners association, and now we're going all rent, affordable housing. What is to stop them from changing their plan? And how do you know that they're actually going to put in this housing that they say? Because in their own plans, it says they did not provide the pictures. The pictures of the houses were provided by somebody else. So what is in the plan may not be what they actually do. So you have to pay attention to all the verbiage on the plans to what they're actually going to do. So you can actually say, we're doing cottages, but the cost of material has risen. So it's going to be more economical for us as a developer to put in multi-unit. We're going from a 4-story to 6. We're still going to have our 25% affordable housing, but we're changing the footprints with the overall development. What is to stop them from doing the same thing?
Thank you. Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Ellis. I'm on 30 Tiffany Road. Like the prior speaker, I moved to the town comparably fairly recently. I've been here since 2020. My home was also built very recently and is not a pre-war. It was also completed in 2020. So first of all, I just want to thank the Planning Commission for taking this so seriously. And I also want to thank my friends and neighbors for turning up and also taking it seriously. So I have a number of concerns. A lot of them have already been addressed. And I appreciate that they've all been addressed. Firstly, I would like to correct the gentleman here from the development. He mentioned that the entire neighborhood has sewer access. Perhaps some of the areas closer to Ohio have sewer access, but my neighborhood certainly does not have sewer access, and I want everybody to be aware of that. Additionally, I have major concerns about drainage. I realize these have also been brought up and discussed, but I want to be sure that everyone here, and not just the commission, is aware of just how severe they are. These storm drains back up at the street and on private property during routine rainstorms, let alone the giant ones we've been getting more and more often. When I say back up, I mean they shoot a foot or two into the air sometimes. They flood the basements, they flood the street. And that's just with the rainwater we get today during routine storms. We cannot accommodate any more pavement or any more storm drains that come in the direction of Tiffany Road. It would be completely unworkable, and speaking for myself, my home would be underwater. Additionally to that, I have concerns about Tiffany Road itself. This was also addressed earlier, but I want to reiterate it. Tiffany Road is one way for a stretch, very, very narrow. Some of the turns are hard to make in a standard sized SUV. The potholes are fierce and constant. I've damaged the rims of my car several times in those potholes. The cracked pavement that goes over the entire length of the street makes more potholes faster than they can be repaired already. There are no curbs. There are no sidewalks. There is nowhere to put snow. There are obstructions during fuel emergencies because there's nowhere to put the snow. We cannot accommodate any more traffic on Tiffany Road. We cannot accommodate the traffic we already have. Additionally, I did take a look at the mock-ups in the plan. They do show very nice mature trees in the front of those homes. Maybe their plan is to leave those mature trees so that they are right in front of the homes that they build, but I think it's much more likely that the entire area will be clear cut. If it's clear cut, that's obviously a major loss for the community, but also it will compound drainage problems. Everywhere we replace trees and earth with concrete and storm drains is just fewer places for the water to go, and believe me, it will all go downhill onto Tiffany Road. If we were to even entertain a development of this size, particularly one that is uphill from these low-lying areas, we would have to, in my opinion, completely overhaul the drainage systems. I'm not sure what that means, except that I think the water would have to be sent in a completely different direction. Otherwise, it would just keep going downhill like it does today. I will send all of these comments in writing too, but I just wanted to be sure that the extent of the problems are well understood by everybody here. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else on this side? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Andy Glines. I live at 413 Atwells Avenue in Providence. I'm a licensed electrical engineer in the state. I'm on here on behalf of a friend that is a direct abutter of the proposed project. I've reviewed the submission documents as well as the TRC report. Pleased to see that there's multiple general comments in there about concerns with stormwater. This evening, I just wanted to mention a couple of specific documents that I want to make sure are included in early design stages of the process. As you may know, the tributaries of the lake are impaired for bacteria. DM issued a document specifically pertaining to those tributaries. One of those tributaries starts just south of Old North Road and Tiffany Road, and is a potential discharge location for the proposed development. And a quote from that report from DEM is this: "It's important to preserve undeveloped areas and institute control on development within this watershed." Also, the town MS4 stormwater management plan identified reducing stormwater to those tributaries as a goal. And a quote from the town stormwater ordinance: "Development of impaired watersheds can be held to higher standards." So right now, the town ordinance requires developers to be able to convey a 25-year event. In an instance like this, the town may be able to require the developer to convey larger events up to including 100-year storm event. So I want to make sure that the town as well as the developer are taking these items into consideration, as I know they have a lot of stormwater designs to do, and it's going to be a long process before it's going to come back to the town with another formal public hearing, and want to make sure that some of those comments are addressed by the developer before it gets to that stage. And again, I'll submit these in writing to the town planner, and look forward to see what the developer has to address those comments.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Come on up. Name and address, please.
Colleen Elias, 8 Hillcrest. First, I have a question. This may be a stupid question, but what does it mean that a master plan doesn't have to be submitted?
That's the new law by the Rhode Island 2024. All complements with low affordable income, and correct me if I'm wrong, do not have to go through the master plan phase. So they have a pre-application, and then they come with preliminary with all their designs and water retention areas. So
Does that include all the information that would have been in a master plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Master plan is the same as conception. This is just something that they think they can do. They don't know if they can do. It's such an early stage, but preliminary, they will have all the engineering, all the state, everything from the state they need. So there'll be so much more to look at. Staff is gonna be on top of this. The developer is gonna be working back and forth with our staff. So this is something that is really gonna be scrutinized, because we just wanna make sure this thing works.
I understand. I just didn't know what it meant to skip a step of the master plan. So my comments are just on the staff report document. It says, in approving a comprehensive permit, the planning commission must make the following findings of fact. Point number 4 says there will be no, so you're gonna ensure this is a fact. There will be no significant negative impacts on the health and safety of the current and future residents of the community in areas including but not limited to safe circulation of pedestrian and vehicular traffic, adequate surface water runoff. We've already heard a lot about that. And believe me, I've got a river in my backyard every time it rains. From day one, the day I closed. Never. Adequate water runoff. And the preservation of natural, historical, and cultural features that contribute to the attractiveness of the community. I can't see how we would be able to find that to be a matter of fact. The planning commission may deny an application for a comprehensive permit if concerns for the environment, which we've heard a lot about, and the health and safety of current residents have not been adequately addressed. So we need to make sure those are adequately addressed. East Shore Drive, there's a road that comes out of this development onto East Shore Drive at the highest point of the neighborhood. It comes down to get to Tayo. It'll be the shortest way to Tayo. That's where everyone walks to get their mail. It's where all the kids play. 2 houses have basketball nets, the kids play, ball runs out on the road. All these people from that middle section of this neighborhood are gonna be coming down our street to get to Tayo Gavin. I think there's great danger in terms of safety for pedestrians and for children in relation to that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Come on up there, sir.
Mike Elias, 8 Hillcrest Drive.
What's that, please?
Mike Elias, 8 Hillcrest Drive.
Thank you.
First of all, as you all know, a lot of people trust in you all to have due diligence. We have some contractors here. Most of us are lay people. We look at plans and blueprints, and it's not what we do. So there's a big amount of trust that's going towards your folks. We appreciate that. When it says that a certain percentage is going to be low income housing. So for instance, if it's say a duplex, family, and somebody buys that, is that 2 units? Is that considered 2? Or is it go by like how many people buy a unit, like whether they buy a single family or 4 family, and then that goes into the ratio as like a single family, 4 family. So is that considered 5, or is that considered 2? Do you know how that works?
Staff, if you want to address that, affordable.
I think if I'm understanding, you're asking someone, one of the structures is a duplex. If they're buying 2 units for one, I believe that this likely is going to end up being a condoized system. So in the situation where there's multifamily and duplexes, they're likely going to have a homeowners association, and individuals will buy 1 unit and then be a homeowners association. I can't speak to that. That's not a level of detail we have. But that's the typical land transaction and development formula that they may follow.
Is that accurate? Condos?
My suggestion is that if there's specific questions that the applicant might be best to address, they're making a list and they can come up and address. At the end of the day, all of these comments should either be addressed if they can tonight, but if not, it'll be part of their preliminary plan. So my suggestion, as opposed to getting into a ton of back and forth, we'll take it all.
That's fair. Just trying to visualize. And a lot of things are said, so I'm not going to say them over again. The other question I would, can like an investor and buy many units and just make it all rentals? So like, could I come in and buy 4 families and have 16 units and just rent them all out? Or is there some type of restriction to the deed that the unit has to be owner occupied? So that would be also an area of concern. And what that would look like. A big question that I have is, I know that, Mr. Dupree is gonna do his best regarding water mitigation. Mr. Du Bois has built houses on Minglewood, and he's also built houses on East Shore, where we live on that side. And there's issues with the water mitigation. And I'm sure they're gonna do the best they can for water mitigation. But the question is, like, what doesn't work? Like, Mr. Du Bois personally told me, they thought that the woods were gonna absorb more water. And now we have a stream that runs down the back of our yard and out the side. And it was something that was missed. I assume it wasn't purposely missed. But the thing is, like, what's the recourse? Like, right now, there's two developers right now that are having serious issues with water mitigation. And now you put one right in the middle, of it, which was already mentioned. And if it works, that's fine, everybody's clear. But right now, Coventry houses get flooded out with big rains. And I know there's issues behind that. So that would just be another note I'm sure you probably would look into. As it was said, with 175 units, if you figure 2 kids, 2 cars per unit, it's like 350 kids and 350 cars, right? So I don't know how your evaluation of this all is even like capacity on the school system. In the school, in the bus system, able to absorb 350 kids. And what happens to like the size of the classrooms and for education for our children. The other thing is, they're talking about Cape Cod berm, which is really, from what I looked at, it's just a piece of asphalt on the side of the road. It's not even a curb. But if you have 350 cars, and some of it says like there's only one, it's gonna only be one parking spot. So you have people parking on the street. So automatically, that's gonna narrow the road. You have 350 kids and 175 families going out for walks, like our neighborhood. People go out for walks with the dogs, take the kids out, take the kids on the bike. So now, again, I'm just visualizing this. They can't park off road, don't park off road. So now people be walking down the road, walking around cars, and there's gonna be traffic up and down the road at the same time. So that area concerns me for us. That's for those folks that are living there. The area of concern for us is that we live on East Shore Road, off of East Shore Road. And in the middle section, either you come out to Minglewood, where you pass one house and you get on North Road, or you come out the other way, you get on East Shore. And then either it's direct access to the school or direct access to Tyo. And right now, again, as it says, all the kids that we have in that neighborhood, they're walking around in the streets playing, and that would be an area of concern. And this doesn't even take into account, God forbid, there's an emergency, like somebody mentioned, like the fire apparatus, being able to get in and out. A couple more things quickly. And the last thing is, respectfully, when we were actually looking at buying a house on Minglewood. And we were told by the realtor that, Mr. Dupree looking to buy his piece of land behind, as you go down Minglewood, you're looking on the right-hand side and behind the right-hand side. So we were told by Glenn that he was thinking about buying that land. He told us it was a family member and that he was going to develop it. And we assumed it would be developed like the houses on Minglewood, which are all $600,000-$700,000 houses. I can tell you, let other people speak for themselves, that bought on East Shore Road, they were told that wouldn't be. So it almost seems somewhat deceptive to me, quite frankly. If you drive Minglewood and you pull into Minglewood, road close off, and then the road's supposed to be, but unless you know there's a right of way there, it looks like just a gentleman's driveway. In no way, heck, does it look like there'd be a possible road there. And then, we later discovered, when we saw your blueprints here, that there is a right of way top of the hill on each shore, which, they would have to clear that all out. And then on top of all this, it doesn't mention the wildlife, the walking paths and everything else. So, again, we're all putting a lot of trust into you. You do your due diligence and just want something that's fair and equitable for everybody. And we appreciate your time. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else on this side? Seeing none. Anybody in the middle? Come on up. I'll take him first. You'll be next, sir. Oh, ma'am.
Karen Lockaby, 51 Tiffany Road. Good evening, members of the planning board. I appreciate the fact that you guys are taking this very seriously and addressing all of our concerns. I noticed that many of my neighbors from Tiffany Road are here. I think that speaks volumes to the problems, and we'll also address problems on Tiffany Road. As you know, it's a dead-end street, which is the lake is the barrier. So as it stands right now, without all these additional units, people drive up regularly, turn around in our driveways to get out. There's no outlet. There's no way to make an outlet to get across because of the lake. So there's already issues there. Our neighborhood is a very popular walking neighborhood. Many people walk their dogs, so they're up and down on this very narrow road. People, kids, dogs. I don't think that the area supports it. So there's a lot of issues raised regarding flooding, which I think is of great concern. Issues regarding roads, infrastructure, proper drainage. The last gentleman just mentioned wildlife. We have an eagle. The nest is right behind our house. I could see it from in my yard. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, a baby eagle took refuge in my front yard. It was in the bushes for about 3 hours just to get enough courage and strength to be able to fly away. And we also, after those other $700,000, $800,000 homes were put in, there's deer, there are turtles, frogs, there's a lot of wildlife that needs to be considered here. I know there's the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Act, and there are penalties for violating that. So I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. The other thing is the strain on the local resources, police, fire, trash pickup. They've been having problems with the maintenance trucks. Been numerous times where we haven't even had trash pickup. You're gonna add all these units, all of that is gonna just put more strain and stress on the city, on the town budget. There was a similar development that was put in Barrington, and approximately 75% of the police calls were to that neighborhood. So I think that's something you need to be concerned about: police, fire, trash pickup, all of that. That's something that developers put into their plan. I mean, I think this is at the preliminary stages. I think it would be a good idea to put the kibbutz on it at the beginning stages. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for listening.
Come on up, sir.
Good evening, JP Verducci, 5 Sweet Fern Lane. Proud owner of the Soggy Basement for the last few years. First of all, I know we're getting into a lot of specifics, so, just from a beginning kind of standpoint where we all said we were. I'm seeing from the submission, it's 232 Realty. I've heard people allude to issues with other developers. Just wondering, can we ask or can we know, is this a developer that's done this before in town, made a development?
I can't.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, all right.
We really are focusing on this development.
Right. So, no, I was just wondering if, we could ask that if we can. I understand, so appreciate it. I couldn't find any information on Google about the company. I was just trying to see where it went.
Excuse me, sir. Please, have some respect.
So, I guess the larger point then, Again, keeping it really just high level. The town have a comprehensive master plan. I don't know if it's finalized or not. I saw it draft. What I'm wondering is, since we are at the beginning of this, does it make a lot of sense to focus so much attention on the detail of this particular development without looking at where Coventry, is growing and how that kind of plays into more of the master plan for the town as opposed to, just the development. So that was one of the kind of issues I had is, perhaps we all know about the affordable housing crisis, developer representative mentioned that. That's a shocking number. We get it. It just may make sense to, help that situation, but just in a less densely populated area or a place that may make more sense for the town at large. So that's really what I wanted to get out there tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You coming up, ma'am? You're next. Name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Patricia Serpa, 194 Kimberly Lane in West Warwick, and I'm actually the state representative of District 27 for this area. First of all, Mr. Flynn and members, I want to congratulate you and thank you for having this hearing tonight. My involvement with Coventry has so far taught me that the elected public officials and appointed officials are really listening to the constituents. We saw that evidence with the Johnson's Pond issue. We saw it evidence when the bus depot was going to be planted in the middle of Oak Haven. So certainly there is a history of listening to constituents. I hope you will listen carefully to what's going on tonight. And I don't want to repeat a lot of what has been said, but the elephant in the room, and it's been alluded to, the elephant in the room is that the water is really a big problem. If you listen to any weather station, you listen to meteorological reports, we're going to have less and less snow. There's global warming, period. It's rain now. And people in that area have complained to the builder, and my intention tonight is not to malign the builder. I didn't come here for that. However, one constituent used the word abandoned. We feel abandoned by this builder. I'm aware of another constituent who is involved with a case with the Attorney General. I'll bet there are many people here who had to go through the expensive French drains. Those are very, very expensive. I'm told, and again, not to put any builder in a bad light, but in my humble opinion, unless that water can be mitigated for the current residents to their reasonable satisfaction, I don't know how we can add to a problem by digging up more earth, putting in more sewer lines, and adding more water problems. This is just, and you're an engineer, sir, so you understand that this will just be compounded. So please, folks, I ask you, I understand this is the conceptual plan. It's just the first baby step, but in the preliminary plan, I hope legally you can include a condition for mitigating the water problems that they're experiencing on their streets. It's just not fair to expect them to embrace this project when they already have so many issues with this builder because he doesn't respond to their needs, doesn't fulfill his promises, doesn't react to their concerns. Abandoned, feeling abandoned was a word someone actually used. So that's really my only point for being here. I know some people don't like to come to the microphone, and I think the speakers that did speak covered a lot of ground. I wanted to speak from my heart and tell you what I'm hearing, how I feel, how I think, because I've been to a number of these hearings, and we're going to put our trust in you. I know you're going to do the right thing, and having this public comment tonight is certainly evidence of your having their best interests at heart. I appreciate that, and I'm sure they do too. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Come on up, sir. You'll be next. Name and
My
address.
name's Linda Blaze. I live at 148 Tyoke Avenue, so I'm on the outskirts. I just want to say that the traffic alone on Tyoke Avenue is horrific. For me to get out of my driveway some mornings, it takes me 10 minutes. I drive a Pathfinder that has a transmission. Do you know how many hill shots I pull? Just to get out of my driveway? I've watched Tyoke Avenue just a road, down the road. I've never had one. I've lived here for 40 years, so I guess I'm post-war. But anyway, trash pickup, I'm so glad they run rented trucks. Why do you want to add any more to that? I've also given birth to someone that lives on Wells Sprague. There's no one here from that area, but they are having terrible drainage problems. They alluded to the sewer. The sewer is a West Warwick line, was put in by Brooklyn Manor by Aslan. So is it even a Coventry line? And they're gonna hook into that? Is grid electric? What's gonna happen with that? The water pressure. I've had water in my basement this past year. 40 years I haven't had this much water. So obviously developing, I've lived in all the developments around here, so I have a lot of issues. I've lived in where you wanted to expand Tyoke Avenue, put inside, make it look like East Greenwich. That never ever transpired. So I don't quite understand why developing more of that area is a good idea. And the wildlife. I mean, I get deer in my backyard every now and again, but they have nowhere to go. Wasn't that initially part of the wildlife or, I mean, someone told me we had ducks in the backyard. So where are you going to put all this? How are you going to say people have paid? East Shore Drive, you're going to make that into like a highway? So people can get out onto Tyoke Avenue or North Road? That curve that you have to come around? If someone's not paying attention, you better be in the ditch. So I think the traffic alone is not going to be sustainable. And the road stinks. You know, they haven't, I've had people jack sewer. The sewer thing at 3 o'clock in the morning. When was the last time that the state did anything with that road? It's a state road. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Come on up, sir.
Yeah, I'm Tom Griffith. I live at.
What's that, please?
Tom Griffith. I live at 271 East Shore Drive. And in addition to everything I've heard tonight, one of my really big concerns is the impact on the environment. You know, when I went through the polls, we see a lot of things about buffer zones, how like mitigation, noise mitigation, and it's just hard to see how that can affect anything done. You know, particularly looking at the area where in about 3 acres you're building 58 units. You know, with that, I wouldn't be surprised if the entire town is clear cut. I mean, the only buffer zone would be grass. And I don't know, you know, I'd like to know how lights can be mitigated and sound noise. I think those units concentrate, you know, like you know, the city zones only 27 houses. In addition to that, depending on where you are, there's certainly a financial impact on current homeowners bought into, you know, homes. You know, the old talks about 1950s, 1960s home being harmed bad. At the same time, talks about, you know, homes now mainly in this area, $700,000. So if you get into building this high density homes, what impact has that had on residents? And is there any consideration on maybe sub-financing laws, if they should have to have it? Because definitely, I don't think something like this would impact the value of homes. edge this as well, we know back to, it's great here, but also, I understand it's hard money, and, overseas, to me, it seems much better. That would enhance a lot of options. People have to drainage, have environment, have keeping the area like this, is be retained in our zone. And like, again, you could build houses, you could actually have sidewalks, you could actually have places off the street in a snow where you have no parking ban. I think that would really make it much powerful development. So, hopefully, because you guys go through this, just taking all that as consideration. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anybody else in the Senate? Come on up, sir.
Hi, my name is Bruce Hanson, 39 Old North Road. So I've lived there for 38 years. My house is in between Angus and Tile Avenue. It has become a cut through, it always has been, but since in the GPS maps that they have nowadays, we've had several tractor trailer trucks, box trucks coming down the road. When they were doing the sewers over there on Otter Road, everybody cut through and they use it still as a cut through. When Paul Green was developing Minglewood Estates, his cousin who owned the land that's gonna be developed now, this board granted a right of way to go from that area into Minglewood Estates, which all of us residents on Old North Road did not want it there. And this is why, because now that's going into the next development into East Shore Drive. And it amazes me that I can go to Lake Tata and not even go on Tile Avenue from Old North Road. When I go out with Angus in the morning to go to work, I'm 4 or 5 cars deep right now. What's gonna happen when you have all these cars on there? Am I gonna be at Angus? Start at Angus? Is the back gonna be all the way up to Angus? Or the same way going down to Tile Avenue? The backup would probably be all the way to Minglewood. I just wanted to let you know on that, on the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on up, sir.
Good evening, Jerry Narkowitz, 21 Beach Street, Coventry, Rhode Island, the Lake Tile Association president. Just a real quick thing. Yesterday, we received a letter from DEM saying that Lake Tile has been nominated and accepted for a lake management plan. You would have no information on that. It's going to be working with various consultants, trying to keep Lake Tile as good as we can. We've struggled with a lot of issues this last year or so, but I wanted to bring it to your attention and also to the planning board and also the representatives from Dupree. I can make this letter available if you don't have access to it at any time. I wanted to just bring that to your attention. You guys do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You already spoke. Come on up, sir. I can get back to you. I want to go through the room first.
Al Shavoni, 262 East Shore Drive. A lot of the previous residents spoke about trusts. Unfortunately, the positions we're in as laymen, many of us just buying home. I'm sorry, I don't want to be too loud. Many of the residents spoke about trust, previously stepped up, and unfortunately, as buyers and as laymen, most of us are not career contractors or builders. We do have the trusts, the builders and the town council, so to speak. At this point, personally, I find it impossible to trust the powers that be, because you talked about, Mr. Chair, you talked specifically about the drainage in water being a major issue in that, the retention ponds and whatnot, that needs to work in whatever future development that the Blois, chooses to partake in. And I know for a fact that everyone up here is well aware of the drainage issues we are currently have faced and are currently facing at East Shore Drive. I have the largest, most expensive, soggiest lot in East Shore Drive. I did since January 28th, 2023. And even though the deploys, even though a cease and desist bill was deployed, went on my property, installed a drain that doesn't work. Standing water still remains weeks later. Months later, went on my property once again, installed a drain on the complete opposite side of where we had spoken about where the water was flowing from the high point of the plat, installed it on the opposite side of my pool, was completely ineffective. And I have got no responses since. That drain was installed. I was told basically let it go. They're well aware that it was installed in the wrong place, and that's a complete lack of integrity, because even a layman like myself, after many, many discussions and many times of having all of us collectively on my property, specifically showing where the water was flowing, how it was building up, to install it in a completely different direction, basically, we all can interpret, is it basically just telling you where to go, and that the inconvenience that we have been living with is not a concern. To even consider allowing another development to be built within the vicinity where the retention pond is not effective and where you have current residents suffering and still living with an abundance of water, to me, it's just, it's absolutely insane. And it has me, and I'm sure it has the other residents questioning, how can our best interest possibly be at hand? Just doesn't make sense. The town engineer has never come out to my house. I have not walked on my property, and I have the property where the water was flowing from Tyoke School too, whether it was known, unknown. I don't, at this level, at this quality of building and at this level with this type of money being spent, I don't think ignorance is an excuse, but whatever, it is what it is. The town engineer has never come, I have never met him come out to my house, looked at my property, gone through, walked, and we're well over a year. I've sent out emails. I don't see any changes being made to my property in terms of helping raising my land or creating a more effective method of my property holding water. It just seems unfair and unjust, and I would, at some point, I'd like to think that the taxpayers' best interest would come to fruition and be a priority for you folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the center like to come up that hasn't spoke? Okay, how about on my right side? Come on up.
Hello, I'm Julie Letty, the Executive Director of Coventry Housing Authority, offices at 14 Manchester Circle. I did provide the board with a detailed report of the Housing Authority's concerns with the village at Tyoke, and most specifically, as you can probably guess, is the potential drainage areas. The Housing Authority's current elderly development on North Road Terrace that will abut the village at Tyoke is already underwater, so to speak, from the volume of discharge onto our property from the two stormwater outflow basins that are directed 20 feet off of our line. The situation at North Road is very significant. It is very unsafe. It is very costly. In January, 1/3 of my elderly and disabled residents had to be evacuated from the buildings at 3 o'clock in the morning because the units in the buildings were flooding. We are very apprehensive about a new abutting development that may have drainage areas behind 3 additional buildings at this property. Coventry Housing is not opposed to new development, especially developments that might contain affordable housing, but we want and ask you to carefully and thoroughly review the proposed drainage system at the village at Tyoke so that it doesn't affect us any further, and perhaps even find a solution for the current situation at North Road Terrace. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side like to come up? Come on up. Take your time, sir.
I won't be long. All I want to say is that,
Name and address.
when I first moved to Old North
Name and address,
Road.
please.
What?
Name and address, please.
Ron Kelly, 48 Old North Road.
Thank you.
My address used to be Old 11 when I moved there because, there was a dead end road. I've been there 54 years. But when they were gonna build Minglewood Drive, they wanted to put two axes to Old North Road. One was at the top of the hill, which is dangerous. People coming up couldn't see it. So we petitioned the town council and everything, and they got it changed. Well, to make it do it, the man that owned all this land, the rich little pot licker, he said, call me a liar. When I said, well, look, I got at least 200 cars a day going down that road. Well, they put those little strips across the road. They did it for 5 days. We had 1,479 cars down our road, 5 days. And it's going to get worse. In fact, some of my friends now go by my house because they want to go to the center of New England. It didn't exist back then. And it's either Arnold Road, West Warwick, Old North Road, and Angus Street to get to the center of New England. It's not going to get better. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else on this side of the room like to come up? If anybody like to come up, just make it brief. If anybody else in the room would like to come up?
Thank you again, Mike Elias, Hillcrest Drive. I had two things that number one, excuse me, is to make you aware, if you're not already aware, East Shore Drive does not have street lights. So winter time, 4:30, it's black out. Kids are home from school, still playing or whatever. There's no street lights whatsoever, which it's a challenge just driving normally, never mind a lot of traffic going towards the school or coming out. The second thing is, you mentioned like the number of units that have to be low income housing. Is there a cap on what they can charge per unit?
I can't answer that. I wouldn't know.
So that would be the question. Somebody
Put
made
it in an
it.
email. What I suggest is put it in an email, send it to our staff.
Okay.
And they will be, the emails are great because it gives them a record.
Okay. Because I did the calculations on the numbers that they said. So somebody with that income, taxes around $8,000, they can afford $500,000. And that's just traditional market. I give market plus for 30 years. That's just traditional. So they could ask like 650 for whatever. So it could be low income housing. So they could ask whatever they want. So I didn't know if there was any. So that.
I believe there is, but I don't want to speak out of turn.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
I just need to understand one thing. They don't even need a master plan because of something that was put into effect this year. So they said by doing low income, they get +5. So did that make up the additional 25% that they're using as the low income?
There is a bonus.
That's a bonus.
That is
Okay.
in low moderate income housing, 25.
Okay, so that's what they're using, and is that also going to come with like federal funding? In retrospect, and after X amount of years, is that gonna be a squash? The condos, like the manor, the same exact thing 10 years ago happened there. So they're renting low income. But is there going to be a gap that after X amount of years, they don't have to be classified as low income any longer? And they're going to reap federal money to help build 25% on top as a bonus. And then it's not in the long run going to still be low income. And the initial proposal as to what they're pitching through a back door. Is this realistically what's going on? You know, is that valid? Like that assumption?
I believe they're deed restricted, but I mean, the applicant can come up and address some of these concerns if they want to. We can't force them to, but if they'd like to come up and address some of these concerns, they're more than welcome.
There's a backdoor for the bonus. And they are very transparent about it. But is that also going to be taken into consideration? And I heard duplexes, and then it was kind of turned around where they said, no, it's going to be condos. So is the duplex going to be kind of like the Floridian duplex where two people own one house? Or is it going to be a one owner? Like how is that? Or is it going to be rent?
I can't answer this question.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Very brief, because, we're going round and round here. We have to keep this to a minimum, but I certainly want to take everybody's comment.
All right. I forgot to say earlier is that the developer that spoke said that their mindset is geared toward residential and not commercial. They preferred residential. This whole footprint that I was today, looks commercial, very commercial. If the developer was geared towards residential, then they would mirror what is already existing, and they would decrease the number of units to make it blend with what the current neighborhood looks like. And there are two sections to developers, yes, it's done in 1977, another one in 2023. So the 2023 is half units. Those that's the guidelines about what happened in the past, done, what's going forward. 2023 is half lots. And that's what this development should be, the footprint should be exactly as they are. And that's what should be done so that the current homeowners don't fail. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would the applicant like to come up and address any of the concerns?
Evening, just the affordable housing question that's out there, just for some clarity. So like the board says, these will be deed restricted units. We are required under this mechanism, under a comprehensive permit, to contract with a monitoring agent. So that means there are 7 or 8 approved monitoring agents certified by Rhode Island Housing. You sign a contract with them, you pay them certain fees, it's different for sale versus rental, and then they monitor, right? So for your rental units, they are ensuring that the residents qualify. For your for sale unit, they're ensuring the same thing. And also when there's a subsequent sale, they get noticed. There's all these processes this goes through. There are, and the monitoring agreement or a draft one will be provided at the end of this process, should this project get there. But there are provisions in there for default and all of that stuff. So that's how that works. They are, you know, it's one unit. The affordable, each unit is considered one, right? Whether it be rental or for sale. So some of the comments were a little bit confusing, but I think at preliminary, you will see the markup, which is required of these are the affordable units, this is this. Will, you know, interface with a monitoring agent at that point. So we'll probably have a letter at that point as well. So, and we'll have a Rhode Island Housing letter as well.
Do you have anything else to add? Pretty much.
Yep, we have a lot of notes, so.
See you back at preliminary.
Yes.
And I just want everybody to know that our staff, including our engineer department, will be working hand in hand with this developer. So please have some confidence in them. I certainly do.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, I'm gonna take a 10-minute break. Everybody can stretch. But, oh, sorry. Anybody on Zoom would like to make a comment? Please raise their hand. Thanks, Cody. I can't. You're online. You like to make a comment, please?
Yes, please. My
Name and
is
address,
Diane-
please.
My name is Diane Cowell, Kowal. I live at 97 Mohawk Street, and I also own property on East Shore Drive. I wanted to bring up one thing that I didn't hear anything about tonight, and that is to request you to consider having an ERT done. That's an environmental review team that would form and would look at things like the wildlife corridors, the eagles on the nest, the fact that the southern part of our lake contains our coves where most of the fishing eggs are hatched, where most of our turtles and our frogs reproduce, and the influence of all of this on all of that. It also would allow us to do with hydrology and the, other things that are in the environment that will be impacted by this development. So that's, I just wanted to make sure that you had considered having an ERT, and if you didn't consider it, please do so.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom like to raise their hand? Come on in. Name and address, please. Can you please unmute? Still muted. We still can't hear you. Can you release, increase the volume and unmute? Anybody else on Zoom? No. Okay, thank you, Cody. Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break, please. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it.
And through the chair, the idea will be after the 10-minute break, we'll take the next item on the agenda. Is that correct? We'll take, after the break, we're gonna take the next item on the agenda.
Yes. So the next item on the agenda after break
Yeah.
Yes.
We ready, guys?
So, next on the agenda is New London Preserve, pre-application, major land development, owner applicant, Alpha Holdings LLC, AP 7, lot 25, AP 8, lots 2, 3, 9, and 10, AP 16, lots 133 and 138 are zoned R20. London Turnpike, the applicant proposes to develop 90 detached, single-family style condominium units, each which would be roughly 2,000 square feet in size, and include 2 to 3 bedrooms, attached 2-car garage. The project will also include pedestrian walkways, lighting, landscaping, and other site amenities. Anybody here like to come up?
Very brief, Doug McLean, planning director. This is also a pre-application. This stage, no votes are owed. This is not a comprehensive permit project. They are not under the same tool that you may have just heard about. So with that very brief introduction, again, this stage, this type of project would have a master plan stage. So after the pre-app and informational stage, no votes, they would go to master plan at the next stage. There would be notice given, and there would be opportunity for comments, and there would be a decision note at the next stage. So with that brief context, Chair, the floor is yours. We're ready to turn it over to the applicant.
Okay, anybody representing the applicant, come on up, name and address, please. And like Doug said, this is a pre-app, and there will be a master plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Joseph Brennan, from the law office of Brennan Law and co-counsel with K. Joseph Shikarchi of Shikarchi Law Offices, both located at 51 Jefferson Boulevard, Suite 400, Warwick, Rhode Island, 02888. Thank you to the principal planner, Doug McLean. We appreciate his synopsis on the process that we'll have to go through as part of our approval process. So we will have a master plan stage for this, but we're excited at the opportunity to have the pre-application meeting with the board so that hopefully we can put together a better and more complete master plan application as we move forward. As the chair stated, we're proposing a 90-unit single-family condo development. The property as it stands today is it's 5 parcels and it's 54 acres of land. It's a former gravel pit in the R20 zone. If you were to drive by there, it's pretty barren. It's an eyesore. It looks terrible. We really think that our proposal and our project can bring new life and put in a very suitable development for the amount of land that's there, being the 54 acres. During the TRC meeting that we had last week, we thought it was a very good and productive one. Police and fire didn't really have any concerns at all, except they did ask us at the very north of the property to review their regulations, see if we can fit a turnaround at the top of there or if it's needed for their regulations. So we'll be looking into that. You'll see that one all the way to the north of our property. And then additionally, the other concern was the idea of possibly an emergency access on Crompton Road. So we're also going to explore that opportunity because we don't want to try to limit traffic. Our goal at this point, at least, would be to have that be emergency access only. So it wouldn't be for the residents and other people, just for the emergency vehicles. That way they have 2 main access points to reach the development from all sides and all angles in case anything were to happen. Additionally, as the chairman had stated, we do plan to put a sidewalk in on each side, provide lighting, adequate lighting, so it's a very nice, beautiful neighborhood that we're creating as part of this. The houses are very reasonably sized at about 2,000 square feet, fantastic amenities with the two-car garage and just 2 to 3 bedrooms, so you're not getting a 4 or 5 bedroom. So yes, smaller families can move in, but you're not gonna get your huge, large families that can sometimes be a concern. Additionally, one of the main things that we noticed as we went through it is because we're in the R20 zone, we're allowed to have 2 units per acre as density. So that would bring us, because we're 54 acres, to 108 units. So based on the ordinance, we're well below. However, through your ordinance, you also have provisions that state that we can only include in our density calculations land that's considered suitable for development. Because we are in a gravel pit, over time, those pits fill with water and water is needed as part of those. We do have a significant amount of wetlands on the property, amounting to only actually give us about 24 acres of suitable land. So that means that by the ordinance, we would be able to, in the comp plan, we would be able to get 48 units by right. So what we're asking for is an additional 42 units that would add up to 87.5% of the total units, percentage of density bonus, if you want to phrase it that way. In going through the Coventry subdivision and land development regulations, this board, the planning commission, could alter the density baseline. So that's one of the main topics that we're hoping to get some feedback from today. And going through that, there's 7 criteria for the board to consider. I could go through them individually, but I'm sure you're well familiar with them. But we think that we can meet all of them very easily, especially with the fact that we are as a whole, a 54-acre site that could have hosted, if we didn't happen to have wetlands, 108 units, and we're looking for 90. So it's not even like we're trying to truly max out full. It's almost 15% or so less than what would have been allowed if we didn't have wetlands. We feel as though we have a very nice preliminary design, single family homes. We're not trying to cluster townhouses and duplexes all over the place and stuff them into corners and in every possible avenue. And additionally, the other component is, at the TRC meeting, it was mentioned from the planning side that the planning staff were looking for us to add an affordable component. When I spoke to the applicants, they're more than willing to offer a 10% affordable deed restricted that would be obviously scattered throughout. So it would be 9 total units that would be scattered throughout, and we could have them be deed restricted as affordable. Also adding to that 7 criteria to the town for you guys to consider for that density bonus. So with that being said, I do have the engineer, Sam Hemingway from Garofalo. If there were any questions I couldn't answer, but we're just hoping to have some good feedback and dialogue with the board. Thank you.
Thanks. You want to bring Sam up now, or you want?
He doesn't have anything to add unless the board just had some questions for him.
Well, my main concern is density. You know, you said there's 24 acres of suitable development. So
Correct.
That's really the number we go by, right, is the 24. We can't go by the wetlands. So you're asking us, you can do 48 conservative, right? They might not be able to do 48 on 24. You're asking for 42 bonus lots. Now, this board does understand we don't have to grant any bonus lots. You know, the 2 that you're using, we can just give you the 48. So I think that's my struggle. 10% to me doesn't cut it. I think we need to at least double that. I don't see giving 90 in my opinion. But I'm gonna, if any other board members would like to jump in, that's just my opinion, 1 of 9.
I'll speak up. I do agree with that a lot. I'm just seeing this influx of crazy density. That isn't it. You know, so
Sorry, through the chair.
Glenn, if you don't mind using your mic, that would be great.
Yeah, please. So this is, you know, that is allowed and you are at, 80 or 87%. I don't know. You're asking for more. I struggle with it too. Joe, I struggle with it too. And again, thanks for the 10%, even at the, even if it's got to be better than 10. I think with our goals, I mean, we're getting slapped left and right by not being, I think we're at 5.3% as a town. And I just went through the numbers and he calmed me down because we had 100 homes and we're going to keep chasing this, but eventually, right, it'll get there. That's all. I'm just going to echo what he said to you. I'll hold it open if anyone has something for you, but I want to move on just a little bit of the development.
Anybody else have any questions?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, very fast, just while we're on that topic of density.
Yeah, sure.
If I were to go back and talk to the applicant and if they could offer the 20%, would you be more inclined to meet us at the 90 units?
I haven't done the arithmetic on it, but I don't want to go backwards for our goal to get 10%. We need to achieve more. I'm not comfortable with 90. If we can come somewhere in the middle and still achieve that 20%, I think I would be more comfortable because as you know, we don't have to give any bonus on this.
I understand.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from, but I'm one of 9 board members. And that's my take.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, Joe, same thing. I mean, the density is excessive. Even with the bonus and the amount of wetlands, I'm familiar with the area. And there's a lot of topographical changes in that because that was Old Bedroom Road, it was called, and a lot of material has been moved out of there. There's a lot of rock and ledge. And the other development, Crompton Road, the elevation is a lot different. And reduce the density a bit, definitely put that cul-de-sac on the north end. So at least the fire truck can get in there and turn around. That could help you reduce some units right there. And, in the sidewalks that the Public Works Director put in there in the plan, what you had, George. So, 20% would, like Mr. Flynn said, would help us meet somewhere in the middle.
And you're leaning towards private.
Yeah.
You will be taking
private
care of
roads.
the carbon
Yes.
and snowplow, et cetera.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I agree with my colleagues. It's a smaller area. The old sand dunes. So I think a smaller, bring it down a little.
Go ahead.
Looking at your plan here, on the cul-de-sacs, are those islands in the middle? The way it looks?
I think they look like that now.
Yeah, no island.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if it's private, you guys can do what you want. But, for fire apparatus, that's a pain for them to turn around. And for snow plowing, it's a pain in the neck if you have a private snow plow. The other thing, and you sat through the first one, drainage. There's a significant problem with drainage towards the north, I believe it is, towards like Longfellow Drive, the way the topography goes down. So I know the engineer, Public Works Director, alluded to it. Historical cemetery is in there as well. I mean, other than that, your traffic study pouring out onto New London Turnpike. We'll see how that comes out. That's about all I have. I mean, the density is an issue. I'm sure that we can come to some happy medium with it. What you're proposing is a very nice project with the sidewalks and the lighting. I look forward to working with you guys on it.
Thank you. Anybody else? No. You want to bring up Mr. Hemingway?
I have something to say.
Yeah, I just thought I'd.
Name and address.
Sorry, name is Sam Hemingway. I'm an engineer with Garofalo and Associates doing business out of Providence. Just in way of clarifying, the constraints were primarily indicated to be wetlands. It's actually the slope considerations that are maybe more significant. The threshold within your ordinance, the description of suitable land doesn't really apply too well to this site. It has been completely altered and by nature of what it was, the work that was done there, excavations, most of the slopes were left in a condition that need to be addressed and flattened anyway. So there are a lot of areas that, although they may technically be within that guidance language, in all likelihood, there are many of those areas that are in fact suitable or will be just through the regular course of restoration. I mean, there are, you know, there's debris that needs to be removed. There's cliffs that need to be leveled up in a more safe condition. There are slopes that are sloughing off from the excavation activities. There are slopes that are unstable currently. All of those will need to be addressed and flattened out as part of this process. I really just felt I want to make sure that the characterization of what we're looking at is.
Excuse me, you have questions?
Yeah, for Sam, and just we started to touch. It's not, you heard the Tiffany Road, you were here for that. You have one of your accesses coming out. It's almost gonna create an intersection. I didn't know if I know that road's already there. It's like, I don't know what it was used for. I didn't know that if you could actually not have that. And if I'm looking at the plan, I think you're looking at, you could come, what would that be, east with another road out here. You know what I mean? As opposed to coming out on Tiffany.
Yeah, so those roads are in place and have been active for heavy truck use for years. So there is an obvious advantage to utilizing them in terms of they have good site distance. They have good egress, they have good flat access to heavy constructed roads. We have been looking at secondary accesses and frankly, either as temporary or as secondary points of connection. We believe we can improve the circulation. I think our hope again is to sort of get this feedback to try and hone in on a project and address things that are important for the board.
And then lastly, the two, I call them, you call it paper roads, but that goes out on Crompton, right? The drawing, that goes all the way through to Crompton. I'm looking at like it stops behind properties or something.
Yes, there has been some confusion about the transfer of ownership and the assessor's information between the two towns. But there is in fact a connection, a physical connection on Crompton, as well as the two that are shown on New London, as well as opportunities rights away in other locations.
Yeah, rights away. So you have one of those two rights away is shown that you feel confident would go to Crompton?
Yes, I believe we can get at least a connection.
Okay.
We are somewhat concerned about cut throughs. So, we don't believe, based on what we've done so far, that the amount of traffic is a significant concern, given the width of New London and the access configurations. So, we think a primary entrance is going to make sense for the project. Emergency egress is obviously paramount, and maybe a secondary entrance is a good idea. We will evaluate that. If it makes sense, we're happy to add that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Anderson, just to let you know, that part of Tiffany Road is a one-way in. That's a one-way, so there shouldn't be any traffic coming out of Tiffany Road at that point onto London. So there shouldn't be a conflict unless the traffic pattern changes.
I don't know how they can make that work without that. So that was.
Anybody else have any questions? Another thing I brought up on the technical review committee, it's 24-foot road width. So we've been pretty consistent of not allowing 24-foot road widths. I'd like to see at least the 26 there. You're doing sidewalks on both sides?
Just one side.
One side. So
Okay.
24 is
Alright.
tough with the vehicles passing if you have somebody parking on the street. 26 seems to be working much
Alright,
better.
Thank you.
I mean, I think our 20 is 30 curb to curb.
All right. Thank you.
That's about all I have. Staff went to. You're gonna be working with staff anyway, so you've listened to our comments.
Yeah, I think this applicant certainly, we've been working with them offline. It's good to get the feedback that the board just gave, and we're happy to work with them. This is a unique tool they're using that allows the density bonus without necessarily a regulatory relief trigger. So it is true, you have the full discretion, and I can work with this applicant, and if we need to bring back another pre-app, with perhaps a revised vision and some, an affordable component. After they discuss it, we can, and if they can also come back from master and get feedback at the master plan level as well. And we've had discussions with the applicant about the opportunity to explore another entry point to the property that might be towards the southern end of the property, whether that's connecting to New London or to the road to the south. I've asked the applicant at TRC to basically explore that concept to get back to us with an analysis. I know there's a lot of topo in the area. There's a lot of issues. And while I have the floor, I know you may be getting close to public comments, and I'll just offer the same comment that I did before. Certainly less of a crowd, but to be even-handed, we'd like, we can still take comments on this project in written format. We can add them to the file. They can be available for the applicant as well. We did receive one comment on this project that had been, and we'll make sure the applicant is aware of that. And if anyone does want to comment, we would take comment on the pre-app, although we'll try to keep it brief. It is getting late in the hour.
Yes.
Yep.
I think we're good. You pretty much presented. Okay, this project will have a master plan. We'll have a preliminary plan. We'll have a final. I'm willing to take some brief comments on this project, but very brief, as we will have public comment at master plan. Does anybody in the audience like to come up and speak about this project? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, hearing none. I think we're good. I think we're gonna be working with our staff. We'll see you at master plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board. Thanks, everyone, for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.
Okay, next on the agenda is Center of New England pre-application major land development owners Matthew J. McGovan in receiver for Comments Park Realty LLC, Comments Park Properties LLC, Comments Park Commons LLC, Comments Park Associates 4 LLC, and Catapult Realty LLC, applicant is Star Capital LLC, AP 13 Lot 14 and AP 14 Lot 65 zone, Business Park to London Turnpike. Applicant proposes to develop a maximum of 500 townhouse style dwelling units with associate park and landscaping and utilities. Anybody here representing the applicant? Come on up, name and address, please. And thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Kelly Morris Salvatore. I'm with Darrow Everett with offices in Providence, Rhode Island. Excuse me. With me tonight is the principal of Star Capital, who you were not able to meet last month due to recovery from surgery. So if Mr. Eden wants to say a few words at some point, he's here. If you have any questions for him about his company, he's here to answer those. Greg Guglielmo from Dupree also stayed with us. As you know, Dupree is the project engineer, and Mr. Guglielmo is very familiar with this project if we get into any of those types of issues. So we wanted to continue our conversation from last month. And what we heard last month is that even though this project does not require any affordable housing, which is a common theme tonight, you want to see some affordable housing.
So, a little bit of a challenge in this particular project, because not only is it just not required by your ordinance, there's actually a consent order that was entered in the receivership proceedings that prohibits affordable housing on this development. The language in the consent order says that we cannot file a comprehensive permit application and that no low and moderate income housing may be established on this property. We are willing to work with the receiver and the court to forego that prohibition. And what we'd like to do, this is a by right development, the density is by right, everything about it is by right. But my client wants to be a good future resident of Coventry. We'd like to first make sure you continue to be at status quo with the 10%, and then add another 5% to give you a bump towards your goal of 10%, which we think is very generous under these circumstances. So we'd like to talk about that tonight. In addition, we have removed the retail component on lot 4 in order to provide this low and moderate income housing. And we will be seeking a variance. These are all going to be studios in the entire development. On 2 and 3, it'll be duplex units or single family. On lot 4, it's going to be studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. Your parking requirements are 2 for any type of dwelling unit. Market conditions for these types of units really only require at most 1.5 units per dwelling unit. So we will be asking for a variance just on lot 4. Lots 2 and 3 will comply with the 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. So we wanted to get your feedback on that. Again, we removed the retail, and we do expect to be submitting the master plan application next week. And we will be before you in August. So we're moving as quickly as we can. I don't know if you want to say anything, Tim, introduce yourself.
Sure, again, it's Tim Eden, Star Capital. A couple things I'd point out following the conversations we had earlier tonight is that we're very cognizant of stormwater runoff. We do have on paper here about 80 acres of open space, all the green area you see there is either wetlands setback area. And part of our agreement we received that we could use those manage stormwater plan using drainage areas there right now. So that's one of the things that our contracts allowed us to do look at this contract and come up with a comprehensive stormwater management plan here, as well as heard that again in spades on other projects. And we were able to get the traffic patterns and make the right decisions to accommodate the traffic here. We've seen the road work out there on Center Boulevard. That's been over a decade in poor condition. We're able to move that forward. I think on the back of our contract, there's a contract that's been signed. And we are planning to start the crossover to connect the east and west section of the boulevard in August. It should start up and deliver this fall. So we think that's a major benefit. And one of the reasons we're able to comprehensive that we're showing. The affordable housing, we want to be able to, we will have affordable housing with different components. We will integrate it into the plan, so it functions as it should. And we're 100% in support of the affordable housing program.
If I can just add to that, we would like the ability, if necessary, to put those 15% low and moderate income housing units into the multifamily buildings where we think that's the most suitable place, but we want to leave it open to integrate throughout the development if necessary. It's not a comprehensive permit. There's no requirement for integration. And again, providing the low and moderate income housing presents somewhat of a challenge after Mr. Eden entered into a purchase and sale agreement with the receiver. So we're trying to do the best we can to get those units on site so that you don't lose anything on your quota.
you know, and he can contribute and make it financially feasible.
Yes, and I appreciate that, and I wouldn't have a problem with them being in one area, as long as there would be some type of agreement stated that will be built. Because you don't have to provide low to moderate income housing, I understand that. But at 2,000 somewhat units, we're at 5.85 now, roughly.
Totally understood.
When I got on the board almost 20 years ago, it was 4.99. So we haven't really achieved a lot of affordable. We would be back below 4 again.
Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that I was very surprised to see that your town council either agreed to or insisted on a no affordable housing. I do that. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never seen this before. So my client is being responsible, a good citizen, and he's providing you with what he can.
So I guess my question is, the multifamily, you said you'd probably establish the affordable housing? Multifamily,
I think right now the plan is to provide, those multifamily buildings will accommodate about 50 units each. We think that we can use 2 of those buildings, maybe add a couple units in each and make those all.
right, that's in number 4.
On lot 4, correct.
Lot 4, okay. Yeah, and I would ask that, yeah, you would spread that out. So well, you wouldn't have, this building is affordable and that building's affordable.
Yes, we would.
You would?
Yes.
There wouldn't be no integrating it anywhere.
That's,
You know,
that's the plan so far.
Yeah, because the plan's set up to integrate it, and I know you don't have to stick to it, but there was a purpose behind it?
I know.
Okay,
We do. We're gonna, the units will look the same. It's
Yeah.
all multifamily, but there's financial consequences, and putting them all in the same buildings actually provides him with some tools to get better financing and potentially tax credits. That's the way we can do it to offer that to you.
sure. And I just want to, if it's money, that's fine. I was wondering why you got rid of the little commercial aspect of that area. Because I was explaining it, I was explaining it to my wife. I said, it's going to be like a little South County Commons, and she got all excited, even though that whole lot now is pretty much a South County Commons, center of New England, but I'm just curious.
We love that. And you talk about placemaking, shops, restaurants, everything. It's just very, very different.
Okay.
We have the county trade retail here right now.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to start doing a retail concentration here. It's very, very difficult. Get an anchor tenant and to lease that space up. Very different. What they did in Southtown, beautiful.
Yeah.
We should do it. It's just very, very difficult. And as we looked at it and started to plan this out, it became more and more difficult to see how that come together without a lot of risk. So I think to concentrate on residential community, bring the amenities in there, clubhouses, and really make it, these are beautiful communities. Start retailing, just to make sure like.
Sure, okay.
So.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Pipeline, there's a site up there on the road in Turnpike, 8.5 acres, it's out of reach right now. And there is plenty of land on C&E Boulevard for different ATs.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And thanks for, working with us on that affordable. Really, thank you.
And also, we do have a Woodland Manor Phase 3 that's gonna be all affordable in one building. So we do have that in town.
That helps.
Hasn't come to fruition yet. I know funding is an issue and all that stuff, but I appreciate you doing the affordables because we don't want to go backwards. We really want to achieve our goal of 10%. And I think the state wants that also.
The biggest bang for your buck, Mr. Chairman, as you know, is to get those 100% affordable developments in from nonprofits. That's what's really going to get that percentage up towards 10%.
But very excited about this. I've been in Coventry most all my life. My parents moved here in the early 50s. And this thing has been an eyesore for many, many years. I think everybody in the surrounding area and town wants to see this thing come to fruition. So I think there's a lot of excitement behind this project. Again, we just want to make sure it's done right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one side of the boulevard's already paved. Nice round.
Yeah.
That was actually that wasn't even a binder coat. That was the construction coat.
Right.
That didn't even get a binder coat. Because the curbings are, 12 inches high.
Gold mine on that strip.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. That's about it. I think.
If you wouldn't mind, Chair, I think it may be, if there are comments to be taken on this, to be able to take comments on the project.
I'm gonna take brief comments on this, because like I said, there is gonna be a master plan, there's gonna be a preliminary plan. And if anybody in the audience would like to come up and make some brief comments on this project, raise your hand and come on up. Come on up. Take your time.
My question is.
Name and address, please.
Linda Glaze, 148 Tioga Avenue. I'm not sure, is this at the end of Center of New England where they've already started developing the condos?
No, that's Highlands. That's off of Hopkins Hill Road. This is gonna be in the area after the green, is it green condos? Come on up, explain that, please. Thank you.
Hopkins Hills is on the left side, that's Highland condos. It's faded, and then we'll have connections from the Highland condominiums in two spaces to go to the middle. Center of New England Boulevard is at the bottom. Okay, so it's coming out, we have like Mishnock Road and all that, we have this is Arnold on one side, Arnold, okay, and New London is on the side, and then.
Hopkins Hill.
Okay. Sorry. So, guesstimate, they're proposing 775 units tonight. Three, all three together. Where you're building the school, we have fire districts. Is the same fire district going to be responsible for all these units? We can't even support what we have now, fire district wise. No one wants to hear centralizing. Who's covering who? West Warwick and so on and so forth. So is this going to be part of Anthony District for all three? Like, how is this all going to happen? And what school districts are they going to be in? Okay, that isn't even a fallback anymore because it's a town garage. So where are you going to fit? No one's having children? Where are all these children going to go to school? They're not all going to be homeschooled. So is any of that being taken into consideration?
We will be peer reviewing this for fiscal impact, traffic, and whatever else the staff feels is necessary, and the applicant is fine with that. But we don't know the bed count yet. This is still a pre-app. We really don't know how it's gonna fiscally impact students. If they're mostly 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom, then there'll be very little children, but we don't know them answers yet.
775 units you're going to have. I mean, I understand people don't have 8 children any longer. However, you're still going to have at least 1 or 2. That's the ratio that we're probably at. So you're going to have to also, how is the fire department going to flood this? So is this all going to come back, more revenue and taxpayer money for them to reap a profit and us to pay at the end? Is what they're going to be paying in taxes going to subsidize or pay for all of this? Or is it going to be pushed back on the whole town?
I can't answer that. I'll take your comments though. We don't, this is pre-app. We don't know a lot about how this is gonna be constructed. We don't know bedrooms. We don't know a lot right now. This is a conceptual plan. This could change. And we need to go forward. In fact, the chief of Hopkins Hills and Central is excited about this road going through the Hopkins Hills. He's been trying to get this for years and years, and this is being achieved. So I think the fire district has got it under control.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not so sure, but okay.
Cody, anybody on Zoom like to come in? Yeah, I think we're good. Yep. Thank you very much. See you at Master Plan. Sounds like soon. Director's report tonight. Anything, Doug?
Nothing to report tonight.
Any public comment other than what's on the agenda? Anybody on Zoom would like to have any public comment tonight? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, I have a second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.